So, FreeBSD 11. This is going to be a little bit overdue. In the course here, hopefully it won't be too long, going to look at installation in a VirtualBox environment. Some of the details about the file system, ZFS, setting up the port system, installing some packages, and maybe getting some windowing system running, and talk about it as we go. Did a previous video on FreeBSD 10.3. This, who knows, maybe I'll say something different. The changes aren't huge between 10 and 11 from my perspective and what I use FreeBSD for. But I guess let's crack into it and see what comes out. I'll give it a little bit more memory than that. And we'll do 36 now. Do 72 gig VirtualBox images. And let's tweak some settings here. We'll give it a second processor. And let's add a drive on a different spindle, right? So we'll see if that, maybe in a later video do some performance testing on separating virtual drives across different physical disks. We're going to go back and do 72. Call that something different and drop it somewhere different. And we're going to want to bridge the networking so we get a real interface there. And what else? FreeBSD cache is in use. I think we're good at this point, and let's pick the CD. So one of the reasons looking at FreeBSD now, I'm going to do some testing on it, is that I'm going to be setting up a new storage server and maybe do a little head-to-head testing. FreeBSD on one side and one of the Illumos derivatives, specifically OmniOS, on the other. But let's get into this and do the installation. That's just griping that I have something else running with the audio. Let's switch into scale mode and note well that the fonts are going to look a little weird. Just doing scale mode here so we can get a better view on the screen capture. And also you may wonder why it seems like there's a little latency. I'm doing VirtualBox over X here, and so it's not quite as snappy as if it was local. Choose the key map. FreeBSD 11 test, give it a host name. I like to install the documentation, lib32 compatibility libraries. I don't install ports here. Rather, I grab the ports tree once it's installed. Always helps to have the source around. And we'll do the guided ZFS route for the installation. We'll do a mirror, which is probably what you'd want to do for any realistic installation, and we'll test that out here. So we'll add both of our drives here, ADA0 and ADA1, so disk 0 and 1. We're going to be mirroring with 2. And we don't want encryption, and we don't want to mirror swap or encrypt swap. Cool. So we are good to go, and we'll proceed with the installation. And it prompts to say, hey, we're going to wipe out the drives. and this should move along pretty quickly. And I really like the guided ZFS installation there. It just can't be any simpler to set up your root pool and get things installed. Um, and of course, your root pool is kind of special. There's some limitations on what you can do easily there. But mirroring your root pool in a real environment is always advised. You may even want 3 or 4-way mirror for your root pool. And then, of course, any other pools you create. And we'll take a look. I don't know. I haven't gone through this yet, so this is my first go at FreeBSD 11 here. Have they turned on options like what's the compression, things like that. So we get prompted for password for root, drop in a password, and we want IPv4, no DHCP. Give it an address and a net mask and a router. No IPv6, and set up the name resolution. And the time zone. I'll skip setting the date and time and see what basic services to start. Unbound might be handy, or local unbound. So that's gonna do resolution caching. Don't want the mouse daemon. Let's do NTPD. PowerD, not important because we're in a virtual machine, and SSHD, of course, very important. So this is new, at least I think. It's been a while since I've done a FreeBSD install, but the system hardening. And I'm probably not going to enable but 1 or 2 of these from the looks of it. I don't like to hide processes running as other users, as other groups. I mean, these are really good security features if you're, I'm just in my home network here, right? So things are very secure naturally, and it's just me, right? So very little that I need to do here, but I like some of these features. And yes, hiding processes might be an advantage, especially at the group level. So I like that. I don't like disabling the kernel messages for unprivileged users. I like to look at them. That's annoying, and I know Linux has done that recently, and it's pretty annoying. Process debugging for unprivileged users makes sense. Randomizing PIDs absolutely makes sense in a production environment. Not going to do it here. Again, some other useful security features. I do want to clean the temp file system. I like that. That's one thing that sometimes I would put in place on a real system, to go clear temp on startup, or at least clear some items out of temp on startup. And we want to disable send mail because we're not going to be sending any mail. And we'll add a user. And since this is going to be my only user and I want to be able to use it as an administrator, we'll need to add it to the wheel group. And we'll do the TC shell because we're on BSD and that just feels right. And enter a password. And we don't want to add another user. So I think we're good. So we now have an installed system. I'm going to reboot, and we'll start playing around with it a little bit. I don't want to make any changes. Let's reboot. I'm going to switch out of scale mode. And so we can eject the CD. And we'll switch back into scale mode now. just so we can get it back up on the larger view here. So one of the interesting things, it looks like the like this hasn't changed all that much since version 10, at least on the surface. Let's log in here and take a look at the data sets created here. So we have these data sets here created on the root pool. Let's actually log in SSH. So things will be a little bit easier to read. I switch into scale mode to make things a little bit more clear, but still this looks better. Get two terminals up, and first off, let's grab the ports tree. Let me get over, switch into root, and use the port snap command. With the fetch argument, we're going to grab the ports, and while we're at it, let's take a look at some of the see what the compression is. So we're now using the LZ4 compression, which is very cool. That's a great fast compression algorithm. I like that for ZFS. See what our compression ratio is. So that's pretty cool. We're saving, in some places, 2.5 time compression. See what our overall usage is here. And out of our 76 gig drive, did we do 72? I guess it was 72. We have 66 available. Some of that is going to be the ZFS overhead, which is what, 10%? I don't know. Leave a comment. I can never remember what the ZFS overhead is, because it is such a good deal to trade that overhead for space. So that's going to be doing its checksumming. Let's install some packages. Let's get Xorg installed. So we don't have package installed yet, so it's going to get it. This was, I guess, formerly package the next generation, or package NG, I think. So we got to grab package and get its repository. So package install Xorg gets you a basic X Windows system. And it's going to take about 420 meg. So not bad. So my ports archive has been downloaded. So now we'll need to do a port snap extract and go and extract the ports. So it's chugging along pretty quickly. We're getting basically an entire X Windows installation. So this is no desktop environments, no window managers, I think, except TWM. So we'll fire that up here in a second. And this is going to chug along. It's got to create a lot of directories and files, right? So it is going to take some time. See, we're over here. We can bring up top. And see how things are going. And yeah, so we're using a good amount of system time there. That's still running. That is still running. So let's see if our compression ratio is changing. So let's still at a overall of 2. And this is chugging along. For our root pool, we could have striped it, but again, that's unsafe, and we probably could have done a striped mirror. Maybe something to explore a little bit later. Is doing, say, a 4-way, 4-disk setup with a stripe of mirrors, which is kind of what you'd want to do ZFS-wise. I'm not a huge fan of RAID Z. I'd rather just stripe a bunch of mirrors together. But for what I do, not big storage installations, doesn't have to be terribly fast. So hopefully port snap should be finishing up here now that we're down to the web stuff. And it's moving along. So there we go. So let's try to build a port. Let's see. My favorite, SimH. Do a make install and clean. So we're going to get SimH391, and we want to build the documentation. And so it's got to go grab dependencies. We're going to get gmake, or GNU make, and we got to get getText. Okay, so Xorg is done. We should be able to do this. And let's switch out of scale mode. Whew. I gotta stop holding down my key there. So you see we have TWM running. So X is up, pretty easy, right? So package install Xorg. But let's get out of there. And since we're running as a virtual machine, we want the guest editions. And so we'll look for this package with the package search. And install the guest editions. And that's going to go get dbus and some GNOME package. So what we want to do is we want to enable these for startup. We would need to add these 2 lines to our rcconf. Go paste those in. But now we'll just start them up right now. And of course, everything that's package or ports drops into user local, makes it easy to manage. I don't know why that's griping there. But we don't really need VBox service for what we want, which is just the screen scaling. And that is still making. So while we're here, let's get a desktop environment. So let's see if XFCE is available. And we have a meta port. So just like with Xorg, you get a package that contains everything, right? So it's a big package, or a list of sub-packages, I guess would be more accurate. Go install XFCE. That's going to be 750 meg. So between X and XFCE, that's about 1.2 gigs. And you see things are chugging along pretty quickly here. So not too bad. And we've completed the build over here on this screen of all the prerequisites, and it's now building the SimH emulators. You get quite a list of packages here with, or quite a number of packages with XFCE. So that's going to have to wait because it is installing. So a package is installing here, so it can't get a lock on the database. So we'll have to wait for this to complete to install SimH. Well, let's take a look at our compression ratio. So our compression ratio has dropped a little bit, probably because we have more binary objects on the file system as a whole. Let's see. What else do we have to say about this? And where we're ports packages. This is chugging along pretty well. And I don't like to shut down and reboot from the desktop environment, so I won't mess around with that. Let's take a look at user at crc.d. Start dbus, and we're going to use the onStart argument to start it, because I'm not going to add it to rc.conf. So if you just want to start or stop a service just once without configuring it in rc.conf, you can use the onStart and onStop. So we'll also do halD. And let's see here. Now we should be able to start XFCE. Now starting the VBox client display should allow display scaling. And it is, it's just a little slow. So we now have display scaling. See if we can get SimH installed. So now that we were able to get a lock on the database, it was able to put this in. And so now we have SimH available. We should be able to do VAX, and we get the VAX simulator. See what so we've just been breezing through here. Let's see. What else might we want to install here on my new system? Let's see. Is JED available? JED is available, so we'll put JED in there. One of my favorite editors. Is Fortran available? Let's see about GCC. We'll put in GCC 5 so we can do a little bit of development. So FreeBSD has come a long way. You know, it's got everything, and I'm kind of torn right now as to what I should do for my storage machine. You know, FreeBSD or one of the Illumos variants. The Illumos variants have the advantage; they can do Linux branded zones It's Solaris, which I feel more comfortable in for some reason. I should say it was based on Solaris, but FreeBSD is really slick. You see, I don't know what this has been, 20 minutes? I mean, once I get started talking, I kind of just keep going. But it's really, really easy to install packages. Ports are fantastic, so we can go tweak, build flags, do all the cool stuff, which as a Slackware user, we use Slack builds for. Ports is very similar. And of course, NetBSD has package source, which is also similar, and that's also available for the Solaris or Lumos variants. So that is clearly a good approach. But have a big package repository to be able to install these packages quite quickly, and to be in 20 minutes able to get up and running with XFCE. Note this little thing. So the bottom toolbars are the same here with my two XFCE, which is kind of on laptops, kind of my environment of choice for a desktop environment, because using a touchpad, I find TWM a little challenging. I like real 3-button mouse to deal with TWM. But yeah, FreeBSD, fantastic. Performance is good. Again, ZFS under the hood. We get dtrace. Get dtrace out of the box. So you get all this kind of enterprise level stuff. Dtrace is super handy. I do need to do a video on it. I'm just trying to figure out the best way to present it. It can get pretty heavily technical. It's kind of a niche thing, maybe. I don't know. But hopefully I'll be doing a video on dtrace eventually. And I use dtrace along with things like Perl, right? Who uses dtrace and Perl together? But yeah, FreeBSD, fantastic. FreeBSD 11, extra security features. You know, not a huge difference from 10, but works really quite well. So I guess I'll kind of wrap it up here. But in this video, again, we covered installation, root pool mirroring during the install process, package and ports installation, and getting a graphical interface up and running. So I guess that'll be it for FreeBSD here on the AMD64. Hopefully look out, maybe in a few hours I'll be doing something very similar on my Sunblade 1000. So we'll be doing the Spark 64 port of this. Again, thanks for watching, and leave a comment if I missed anything.